Alright, so today we're going to be doing an alternate future of the world scenario. This is going to be episode 4, in fact. So, when we left off in 3, we're reading American War Story, which is just a word to the old, or what, America and our world. In this world, they collapsed, as we can see. And this war is going to get a lot bigger because some countries want some more land, especially up here in Canada. They do not like the current state borders. And Maine wants to take, and really it's the Northeast, they want to take all of this. Over all this. So, excuse me, sorry. So you probably heard that boy, I don't know. Alright. So, so they will make a deal. So Maine will get this, and all this. But they will let Canada take over all this. And this stuff. And the economy in most countries have basically recovered. Because it is 2050, we're going to say. Oh, I don't know, we're going to lose track of time. But let's start. So, we saw that Bosnia was not going to last forever. And they didn't. Eventually, they begin to flimmer and fall. And they fall to coalitions in the South. And the peace treaty will basically be along ethnic lines. So it's going to be something like this. Something. And the Bosnians will have it be a buffer state under joint control of both countries. The joint control of both the Croatian and the Serbian parties. I don't know what that was. So Maine is thinking about making peace with New York. But they know New York. They know war is not too popular in New York. And with the recent wins of Maine, war is getting pretty popular. And also they end up and also remember that deal, well, they take this. And that's just to make the border look a little bit better. They take all that stuff. And suddenly Nova Scotia is quite scared that Maine or New England's gonna invade them. We're just calling it. No, never mind. We're not gonna call them. We're just gonna do. I was gonna call them. I really gotta just keep calling them Maine or New England. And New York and New York City and New England are able to work out a peace deal. And New York gets annexed, but it is highly autonomous. It's more like a puppet. So and then it's all going to. That is New England puppet. New York. And the downfall begins. At least in Washington. And Texas hasn't made out a peace deal just yet with them, so they have bone to pick with them. They continue advancing along this river. And Washington isn't able to set up defenses over here. Which is not good for them. Not at all. And they continue advancing. Washington attempts to set up defenses here, but they advance quite fast. When the Washington army begins to crumble, war support is low. And it's looking like the end. They're able to breach the defenses. And the capital of Seattle is getting blitzed towards from two sides. And they abandon the mountains and decide to set siege over here. And these are, we know who they are. They decided to stop operating in America. They know it's too dangerous to keep operating. With crazy wars that's been going on. War. Warlord galore. So we're gonna make some borders after this. Soon Washington is secured and they do surrender. To California. We're gonna have some borders be made here. Some very American border. Whoopsies. Too far. Probably too far. And that's just gonna be losing all that land, so they're gonna be getting compensated. They're gonna be compensating some land. Some money and some land too. They're gonna get all this land over here too. There's what is a super American. Baby Street. Not these on street. Not these on street boys. Oop, they're gonna become straight now. No. Louisiana buys that up. Before it's very American. You know what? We're gonna have this border. Oopsies. I'm gonna make this border better. That doesn't look better. Too much. There we go. I like that border. Okay, now I just ruined the border, I think. Oopsies. Okay, never mind. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna. Oh, just gonna let it do something like this. Whoops. But it's still kind of straight. It's just diagonal. Never mind. Alright. So now it's pretty much we're pretty much in the next decade. I'm just gonna call it 2060. Now the time's gonna go faster and faster until we get to the end, which will probably be in the 2200s. So let's rest here during this break. Alright, I am back. And the second North and this in the North and the Canadian War is the Grand Canadian War is about to begin. With Quebec, Maine, Saskatchewan, British Columbia going against Manitoba. I don't remember what the name of this was. Ontario. I don't know the name of this. I don't remember what it was. And is it no, that's Nunavut. Yeah, that's like Native American state now. The one and only. And this is Newfoundland. So Quebec will start off by invading into this country. I don't remember what it was. Labrador or whatever. And they were able to catch the country off surprise. They were able to quickly get into there and take most of it over. They declare war on Newfoundland, which is a little bit of a harder bone to pick, and they are able to defend themselves for now. For about 6 months, they were able to defend themselves, at least over here. But over here, oopsies, who's defending over there? Phew, Quebec's land makes a little beachhead over here, and then extends up. Ontario, during the war, declares war on Quebec. They begin advancing Quebec was not expecting this. However, Saskatchewan declares war on Ontario, and Ontario was not expecting this. But Saskatchewan declares war on Manitoba, because Manitoba was not expecting this. But British Columbia declares war on their ally, and they weren't expecting this, nor was their ally. So this starts off the Grand, what was it called again? Oh yeah. The Grand what again? Oh yeah, the Grand Canadian War. Oops. British Columbia is able to quickly advance into this reasonably weak country. They would have pretty much landlocked and established themselves well. Well, Manitoba decides to redirect some troops over to here. It stops the advance pretty quickly. Whoopsies, wrong color. But they do advance these lakes, and they take over this lake. Quebec redirects some troops over to here, which quickly resolve the situation. However, New England, the Northeast, declares war on Ontario, and quickly lands across the Great Lakes, which captured the capital. And this just, oh my, Ontario just loses control of everything. And Quebec advances back against them. And Newfoundland eventually ends up falling. The Northwest takes Nova Scotia after some positions are put up. And Quebec is able to redirect some troops and advances against Ontario. And they're making a deal. And New England does not deal in the deal. They do end up occupying, but they do end up occupying a little bit of land over here. The war is entering into later stages. And Toby decides to make a little bit of a defense line over this lake along here. And this succeeds for them. However, Saskatchewan has to redirect some troops over here, which allows them to advance back. And Manitoba advances back and advances against Saskatchewan. I don't really know how to pronounce that. It's looking like Saskatchewan is doomed. Toby is not included in the deal, but they're gonna get some stuff. And the entire coordination dies in the Ontario Army, and they surrender to Quebec and Manitoba. The plot twists were wild, weren't they? Manitoba and the British Columbia continue advancing into here. And this country surrenders, I haven't mentioned that yet. I have probably. And Alaska decides to fix this border up, and they did this. And they continue to take this from. They know they can't really survive too well on their own. Because their resources are eventually gonna run out. So they're probably thinking of having a union with Canada, maybe. Or at least with one of the Canadian countries. And we have reached 27. Just kidding, we haven't reached 27 yet. But yeah, we reached 2060 when the war started. There's a lot of... yeah. Alright, but there's any other wars across the world. Not really. Not for now. Russia does end up reclaiming some more land, and the European countries begin to panic. And Russia managed to claim all this land. And countries have begun finding ways to increase their baby count. And France decided to declare war on this country, followed by Italy a couple days later. Germany and a bunch of other countries assist. And yeah, it doesn't go too well for them. They were defeated. They were defeated. Eventually, the Italian forces advanced through the mountains and invaded Nice. So yeah, massive. Actually, Nice is over here, right? I don't know. I hope everyone's gonna get it because that's what they joined the war for. This does not look good. Oops, I actually just gave Italy Monaco. Oh my god. No, there isn't many calls for Italian reunification for now. But in the meantime, Italy managed to annex Corsica. You know, Italy and Venice are thinking of uniting. With Venice basically becoming a puppet of the... They're basically becoming like a dual monarchy thing. And the unification occurs. Venice is now a puppet of Italy. And let's change this to next. Well, meanwhile, Armenia's probably got to be smashed. However, Saudi Arabia, after this, Saudi Arabia, every Middle East country has lost a ton of influence. Because of the shift towards, we know. Anyway, Somalia is recognized as a country. Because the only one is, yeah. And anyway, with that done, Sudan retakes South Sudan. Because of the incursion, because of the war incursion. South Sudan got involved in the war, yeah, it wasn't too good. And eventually, Sudan fully reunites, ending the Third Sudanese Civil War. Probably one of the last, probably back in like 2030s, stuff, 2040s. So yeah, you kind of rewind time back there. Yeah, Colombia, with the help of other countries, managed to end its civil war and its war with itself, and you begin restabilizing. Venezuela's leader dies, and everyone's happy. Oh wait, French Guiana? I forgot about that. So in 2076, France particularly takes French Guiana, because everyone forgot about it. But a giant war in North America is brewing. ... Quebec would prefer to remain independent, but Manitoba, Manitoba and British Columbia unite. And it's like New Canada and these guys, Northwest Territories Yukon joined. I think that was the Northwest Territories. Alaska decided to join too. Probably going to be better off united anyway. Canada's not fully reunited, but it's going to take time for them to consolidate their power. No, actually, they haven't fully reunited. Also, I want this board to look a little bit better, so there we go. The board looks a lot better. Alright. So you can basically see the outline of the Mississippi. And you can see the outline of Maine too. And you can just see like a bunch of rivers for some reason. Colorado and the weird.
This video.
This video is made popular. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Nothing too big happened, but big things gonna happen for the next episode. Because tensions in the Middle East have been rising, and they're sky high. A global World War III might happen, if you say. World War III. At least that's when Germany joins in. So that's it. Bye. Wait. Okay, good. Bye.